Thank you, Representative Exum. The House will come to order. Please join Representative Burnett in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Shebel, please call the roll.
Representatives Amabile. Representative Amabile is excused. Bacon. Rep. Bacon's excused. Baisley. Representative Baisley's excused. Benavides. Burnett. Byrd. Bockenfeld is excused. Basenecker. Bradfield. Caraveo. Carver. Representative Carver is excused. Catlin. Cutter.
Present.
Doherty. Representative Doherty's excused. Duran. Esgar. Majority Leader Esgar is excused. Exum. Somewhere. Froelich. Geithner. Geithner's excused. Gonzalez Gutierrez. Is here. Gray. Representative Gray is excused. Hanks.
Here.
On the wall. Herod. Representative Herod is excused. Holtorf. Hooton. Judah. Kennedy. Kipp. Larson. Lindsay. Lontine. Luck. Lynch. McCluskey. McCluskey's here. McCormick. Oh, yep. McKean. McLaughlin. Michelson Janae. Mullica. Neville. Ortiz. Pelton. Pico.
Here.
Ransom. Rich. Ricks. Representative Ricks is excused. Roberts. Sandridge is excused. Sirota. Oh, he's on the wall, I believe. Yeah, okay. Sirota. Snyder. Soper.
Here.
Sullivan. Tipper. Representative Tipper. Rep. Tipper's excused. Titone. Representative Titone's excused. Valdez A. Valdez D. Van Beber. Van Winkle. Weissman. Will is present. Williams. Representative Williams is excused. Woodrow.
Here.
Woog. Young. And Mr. Speaker.
With 55 present, 10 excused, we barely have a quorum. Representative Burnett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Journal of Tuesday, April 19th, 2022 be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
Members, you have heard the motion that the journal be approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk. All those in favor say aye. That was a beautiful eye. All those opposed, no. No! I'm looking to the gallery. All those young scholars up there, it sounds to me like the ayes have it. Do you agree? They do. The ayes have it. The motion's approved. Announcements and introductions. Representative Neville. Members, please direct your attention to the well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I just want to recognize today that 23 years ago we lost 13 students at Columbine High School, and so I encourage you all, if we can, like over the next week, let's try to do 13 acts of kindness to remember those individuals that we lost. There's not, a week that goes by that I don't think about the friends that we lost and the families and the suffering they've gone through, and I think that'd be a great way for us to recognize them, and then I would also just ask that we have a brief moment of silence, Mr. Speaker.
Moment of silence granted.
Thank you, members.
Thank you, Representative Neville. Any other announcements or introductions? Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ag, Livestock, and Water will meet tomorrow upon adjournment, and the calendar has changed, so I'm announcing that today. We will be hearing Senate Bill 22028, House Bill 221379, and House Bill 221382. So upon adjournment tomorrow, Ag, Livestock, and Water. Thanks.
Representative Montine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Health and Insurance are meeting this afternoon at 1:30 in room 112. We are hearing House Bill 1293, Senate Bill 156, and House Bill 1370. See y'all there.
Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an announcement about today's work of the Judiciary Committee. We are in the Old State Library at 1:30 p.m. We have 4 bills. To accommodate some sponsor timing issues, we're going to do them in a bit of a different order than is printed on the calendar, but the total bills are the same. So the order will be 1368, 1373, then Senate Bill 183 and Senate Bill 188. See you at 1:30. Thanks.
Representative A. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Energy and Environment will be meeting on adjournment today to hear Senate Bill 118, House Bill 1361, and Senate Bill 110.
Representative McLaughlin.
Hello, Education Committee. We are not meeting today, but Thursday we have a really fun day with 6 bills. So we're listening to 1365, 004, 1260 for action only, 1366, 1376, and 1390. We're a comfortable close. See you there.
Representative Exum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Transportation and Local Government, this afternoon we'll be hearing Senate Bill 176, Representative McCluskey, and also Senate Bill 146 with Representative Snyder and Representative Catlin. LSB 130. See you then.
Representative Will.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to serve with you.
Honor to serve with you too, Representative Will.
I wanted to welcome the middle schoolers, 7th graders from Barone Middle School from Meeker, Colorado, to the House floor. Let's give them a hand. There's our future for the West Slope of Colorado. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Representative Will.
Also, while I'm down here, Mr. Speaker, I want to remind everyone that the Sportsman's Day at the Capitol is tomorrow. We'll be having Rocky Mountain oysters. We'll be having hot dogs, some hamburgers. Please come out to the east side of the Capitol and join us. Free wild game luncheon. So be there, be square. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Will, and to all the students in the gallery, welcome to the House. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope one day you guys are serving down here. Further announcements and introductions. Representative A. Valdez. Members, we have a tribute. Please direct your attention to the wall. Maybe we'll just go to Mr. Schiebel. Mr. Schiebel.
How's it going?
State of Colorado. The House of Representatives convened in the 73rd General Assembly hereby celebrates Colorado's biodiversity. Biodiversity refers to every living thing on Earth, and protecting it helps preserve Colorado as we know it. Colorado is the home of species and of habitats that are of ecological, economic, cultural, historic, recreational, scientific, and spiritual meaning to the people of Colorado. Biodiversity provides life-sustaining services that are essential to the security, health, and well-being of our people and planet. These include carbon storage, water filtration, soil replenishment, the provision of game species, medicinal products, and recreational opportunities. High levels of biodiversity help support Colorado's outdoor recreation economy and contribute to the jobs of many Coloradans. The people of Colorado have an important relationship with nature, including with wildlife, pollinators, and plants. Conserving biodiversity is a key step in ensuring the health of the planet for current and future generations. During this Earth Week 2022, the Colorado House of Representatives celebrates biodiversity and all of its contributions to the state. On request of Representatives Alex Valdez and Aman Judah, given this 20th day of April 2022, State Capitol, Denver.
Representative A. Valdez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, please be seated. This is a day we want to recognize biodiversity, and we really want to talk about how important biodiversity is to each and every one of us. Colorado is home to 946 species of native bees, 250 species of butterflies, and 11 species of migrating hummingbirds, and about 80% of all flowering plants. We have a pollinator crisis, as we know, but pollinators are responsible for 1 out of every 3 bites of food you take. About $500 billion of global crops are at risk from a pollinator crisis. Colorado has 74 state-listed endangered or threatened species, 19 species of birds, 23 species of fish, 13 mammals, 10 reptiles, and 7 amphibians, all in danger of disappearing from the earth. The decline of biodiversity presents a direct threat to our existence, to our security, health, well-being, and the people causing economic harm. 92% of Coloradans recreate outdoors. 74% support a goal of establishing a national biodiversity strategy. Our own congressman is working on it. You'll hear about that. Colorado and the United States are facing an unprecedented crisis, and we have to respond today. 75% of the area of terrestrial environments and 66% of our marine environments are altered almost beyond repair. 1 million species are threatened with extinction in the coming decades, including over 40% of amphibians, 33% of coral, 60% of shark species, 60% of cycads, and 30% of conifer trees. 10% over 5 million insect species. Seeing the decline of the important impacts of these services, including 1/4 of the surface land decreased, 1/3 of freshwater species gone. It's important that we respond today.
Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, as a member of the Energy and Environment Committee, we hear a lot of legislation. Anything that touches biodiversity comes through our committee. And issues around biodiversity have broad bipartisan support. We support carbon sequestration. We just recently approved a bill, I believe with just one no vote, on expanding funding significantly for our tree program at CSU. And we've always supported, in a bipartisan way, our pollinators. There are many ways that we are addressing the impacts of climate change, and biodiversity plays a significant role in that. We think during the Earth Week that it's important to recognize the value of biodiversity, how this is not a partisan issue. This is an issue that everyone can get behind and put their arms around. Trees matter. They are the answer. Pollinators matter. They play a significant role in biodiversity. We need to do everything we can to protect them. Carbon sequestration, using our soil to improve the quality and the health of our crops, and to also help us address carbon reduction. There are many things that we can do and are doing, but when it comes to improving our biodiversity, this is something I believe we can all get behind, and we thank you for your support in advance for our resolution.
Representative Judah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I think it's imperative that we also recognize the biodiversity in our indigenous tribes. There is a disproportionate impact on indigenous tribes and other communities. Communities of color, low-income communities, tribal communities, and other populations have been systematically and deliberately targeted for citing environmentally degrading activities. They are excluded from conversation efforts and face disproportionate impact from biodiversity loss. Worldwide, up to 80% of biodiversity is located on indigenous land. Indigenous leaders have also been excluded, often violently, from this conversation. In regards to that conversation and protecting 30% of land and water by 2030, tribal leaders have declared, we have identified key priorities related to sovereignty, consultation, representation, resources, and evaluation to strengthen the government-to-government collaboration we must undertake to safeguard the environment. We call on the federal implementers of this important policy to commit to following priorities early in the implementation process and to consult with tribes continually and meaningfully on a government-to-government basis.
Representative Sirota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to take an opportunity to share about the National Biodiversity Strategy with House Resolution 69, which is led by our very own Congressman Neguse. House Resolution 69 calls on the federal government to establish a national biodiversity strategy to tackle species extinction and address the primary threats to biodiversity and ecosystem services. The approach would allow the U.S. to protect its natural legacy for today and for generations to come. It also plays a leading role on the international stage in addressing the biodiversity crisis. H.R. 69 lays out key areas for the National Biodiversity Strategy to prioritize, including joining and leading international agreements to combat climate change, such as the Paris Agreement, establishing climate and habitat corridors to support work like our very own Senate Bill 22-151 in Colorado this session, for conservation of species affected by climate change, the rapid build-out of renewable energy, advancing conservation in coordination with state and tribal governments, and incorporating indigenous knowledge. And this approach would mobilize a stronger, more coordinated national response and create a blueprint for effectively tackling the challenge. And so if you have a moment of time, maybe reach out to your congressperson and let them know how appreciative you are for their leadership.
Representative Froelich.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we take action that is required to coordinate globally, nationally, regionally, and locally to address the biodiversity crisis, we need to do a better job of listening and collaborating with local governments, tribes, private landowners, and other non-governmental stakeholders. So I call upon all of us to make sure that Colorado plays a leading role in the international stage addressing the biodiversity crisis.
Thank you. Seeing no further announcements or introductions, Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to proceed out of order for the immediate consideration of third readings.
Seeing no objection, we'll proceed out of order for immediate consideration of third reading of the bill's final passage. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over Senate Bill 9 one day until Thursday, April 21st.
Seeing no objection, Senate Bill 9 will be laid over one day until Thursday, April 21st. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the House Bill 1304.
House Bill 1304 by Representatives Robertson, Bradfield, also Senators Coleman and Gonzalez, concerning state grants for investments in affordable housing at the local level and in connection therewith creating the Local Investments in Transformational Affordable Housing Grant Program and the Infrastructure and Strong Communities Grant Program to invest in infill infrastructure projects that support affordable housing and making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1304 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1304 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. For those participating online, Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close the machine. With 43 aye votes, 20 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1304 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Woodrow, co-sponsor. Representative Cutter, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the House Bill 1319.
House Bill 1319 by Representatives Gonzalez Gutierrez and Judah, also Senator Gonzalez, concerning dependency orders for an unaccompanied child in federal custody in Colorado.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1319 on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1319 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close the machine. 41 aye votes, 22 no votes, and 2 excused. House Bill 1319 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Cutter, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the House Bill 1218. Oh, what? Oh, Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to labor House Bill 1218 to the end of the third reading calendar.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1218 will be laid over until the end of the third reading calendar. Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1122. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over House Bill 1122 one day until April 21st.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1122 will be laid over one day until Thursday, April 21st. We're good, right? Mr. Shebel, please read the title to House Bill 1283.
House Bill 1283 by Representatives Michelson, Janae, and Bradfield, also Senators Buckner and Priola, concerning enhanced residential services for persons with behavioral health needs and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1283 on third reading, final passage.
Representative Michelson, Janae.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask permission for a third reading amendment. I have permission from the Majority Leader to display a picture, and we are working on displaying the picture right now. This young man, his name was Andy Campos Padilla, and he lived in Federal Heights. He dropped out of school because as the second oldest child, with the oldest child having special needs, he had to take care of the family. So he went to work in construction. He loved music, and he so desired to have his own construction business and to be his own boss. He believed he could take care of his mother and his siblings in the way that his father never could. But he also had a substance use disorder. And he also suffered from very severe depression. And this young man worked his way and was ready for treatment. But he needed a Medicaid bed. And he needed a Medicaid bed that would do both substance use disorder and emotional disorder, mental health disorder. He was ready for us, but we weren't ready for him. He died just 2 months ago when he consumed methamphetamines laced with fentanyl. He didn't intend to go. We weren't there to help him. This bill will create those beds so that Andy Campos Padilla can serve his family in the way that he wanted to serve his family. And while we remember Andy and we remember Andy's family through this bill, my request for a third reading amendment is to name the section of the bill that builds those mental health and substance use disorder treatment beds in honor of this young man whose time we weren't ready for. We weren't there for him. This will be there for other Andys. And so I ask for a yes vote on permission for a third reading amendment.
The question before us is permission to offer a third reading amendment to House Bill 1283. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Pico votes yes. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close machine. With 57 aye votes, 6 no votes, and 2 excused, permission is granted to offer a third reading amendment on House Bill 1283. Representative Michelson Jeanette.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move Amendment L06 to 1283 and ask that it be displayed.
That is a proper motion, and it is properly displayed. Representative Michelson Jeanette.
The section of the bill, as we discussed, shall be known as the Andy Campos Padilla Act. I ask for an aye vote.
See no further discussion. The question before us is the adoption of L006 to House Bill 1283. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Pico votes yes. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Soper votes yes. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close the machine. With 56 aye votes, 7 no votes, and 2 excused, L006 is adopted to House Bill 1283. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1283 as amended on third reading, final passage.
Question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1283 as amended. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close the machine. With 51 aye votes, 12 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1283 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Woodrow, Representative Cutter, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1303.
House Bill 1303 by Representatives Amabile and Sandridge, also Senators Winter and Smallwood, concerning an increase in the number of residential behavioral health beds and in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1303 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1303 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Pico votes yes. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close the machine. With 51 aye votes, 12 no votes, and 2 excused, House Bill 1303 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Cutter, co-sponsor. Representative Woodrow, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of the House Bill 1218.
Thank you. Yeah, we went back.
House Bill 1218 by Representative Valdez, also Senator Winter, concerning resource efficiency related to constructing a building for occupancy.
Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move House Bill 1218 on third reading, final passage.
The question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1218 on third reading and final passage. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine and members please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Soper, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Soper votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Please close the machine. With 35 aye votes, 29 no votes, and 1 excuse, House Bill 1218 is adopted. Co-sponsors. Representative Woodrow, Representative Cutter, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the following bills be added to the end of the special orders calendar at 9:35 a.m. House Bill 1318, House Bill 1349, House Bill 1289, House Bill 1137, Senate Bill 167, Senate Bill 58, Senate Bill 164.
Seeing no objection, the bills laid out by the Majority Leader on Wednesday, April 20th will be added to the special order calendar at 9:35 a.m. Representative Byrd. Members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Byrd will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there is a request for reading a bill at length. Committee reports are printed and in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and on your iPads. Bills will be laid over upon motion of the majority leader, and of course, the coat rule is relaxed. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of, House Bill 1318.
House Bill 1318 by Representative Benavidez concerning the extension of the Law Enforcement, Public Safety, and Criminal Justice Information Sharing Grant Program deadline.
Representative Benavidez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I move House Bill 221318 and the Appropriations Committee report.
All right, that bill has been properly moved. Just one moment, though, Representative Benavidez. Committee? Members? Members, if I could have your attention. Don't make me use this. That's your first warning. All right, Representative Benavidez, to the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Even though I had to go to appropriations, I'm being told there's no appropriations report. So I'll go straight to the bill.
Please, to the bill, Representative Benavidez.
What this bill does is, over a year ago, we passed a bill to allow the Colorado Information Sharing System to have some grant funds to help primarily small rural sheriff's departments to enter into the information sharing system so they can share information with other law enforcement departments. And they had $185,000 left of grant money, and instead of reverting that, we're allowing them to keep those cash funds to use, because there's still a handful of small sheriff's departments that still need these grants. And it's a good bill, and I urge a yes vote.
Thank you, Representative Benavidez. All right, members? We do need to take it down just a bit. So I'm right here next to the well, and I'm having a really hard time hearing our bill sponsors. So please, conversations, take them off the floor. All right, is there any further discussion on House Bill 1318? Seeing none, all those in favor of the passage of House Bill 1318 say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1318 passes. Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1349.
House Bill 1349 by Representatives Duran and Will, also Senators Bridges and Priola, concerning improving decision-making to enhance post-secondary student success.
I'll move it. Can I move it?
Representative Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a true honor to serve with you.
It is such an honor to serve with you, Representative Will.
And just so you know, Madam Chair, I was being quiet and listening to you.
And it is noted and appreciated.
Thank you. I move House Bill 1349 in the Appropriations Report.
Okay, and the education report as well?
education, yeah.
Okay, to the appropriations report.
So we asked for $3 million. That appropriation amount was awarded. And in the Education Committee report, we included some amendments. However, they did not change any fiscal impact of that. And in the Education report, we amended to asset students, success measures, including data on non-traditional students, Department of Labor, Workforce Development Council, and the Department of Education to provide the department that the department to the department that whatever necessary data they need to implement the data system and the statewide data system for employment and wage outcomes, and use this data to improve institutional decision-making and best practices for these students.
All right, is there any further discussion on the appropriations report? Seeing none, all those in favor of the appropriations report say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The appropriations report is adopted. To the education report. Is there any further discussion on the education report? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The education report is adopted. To the bill, Representative Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So House Bill 1349 The data will be used to make the transformational changes needed to boost our workforce. That's why we're going to invest in a statewide student success data system to provide higher education leaders and policymakers with easy access to actionable metrics of student success. The data will equip policymakers with the tools they need to support students, empower learners, and measure the success of Colorado's post-secondary and workforce program. This bill also sets out to identify student success measures in collaboration with higher education institutions. These success measures will align with the primary reason that over 90% of students pursue post-secondary degrees to access enhanced professional opportunities. The measures will extend beyond just credential attainment to include measures focused on students' outcomes and career success, and I ask for a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1349? Representative Baisley. Representative Baisley.
Here you go. You need that. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the bill sponsors, and perhaps I should have asked this during the appropriations report. But in the fiscal note says two things that I find conflicting, and I'm trying to understand where the money comes from. So $3 million is an awful lot of money for this effort, in my opinion. But it states in state appropriation says that the bill requires an appropriation of $3 million from the Workers, Employers, and Workforce Centers cash fund, which would imply federal dollars. But then it says, the next sentence, the appropriation is from the money in the fund that originated from the general fund. So I'm trying to understand whether this is general fund money or if this is cash fund money, federal money.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the funding comes from the ARPA dollars, and it was a fund set up with House Bill 1330 from last year. Yes.
Representative Will, did you have more to add?
I want to say ditto to what Representative Duran said.
All right. Representative Baisley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the pluses and minuses to this bill for me is it appears to be an effort worthy of a single FTE, which is what is allocated in this, one person to do the job. And in the fiscal analysis by the Joint Budget Committee staff, the JBC staff on House appropriations, it says that the one FTE plus licenses such as SQL and Tableau and other software licenses would amount to $229,578. So $230,000, to me seemingly a reasonable amount for a single person, one FTE, full-time equivalent person to work full-time for a year at a time, of course, to develop this understanding and put it out in a useful report. On top of that, though, comes this modernization system of $1 million and vendor, contractor, and other support for $1.77 million, totaling $3 million expense. Just seems like an awful lot of money for this one-person project, and then all the folks in support. So, seems like a lot of money to me for this. However, I'm going to say to it, I think that this would be a useful exercise if it helps to tailor instruction, tailor the classes in higher education towards success in private industry and for success for students in the free enterprise world. The way that would happen, and I've been in conversation with Department of Higher Ed on this, is that if they were to interact more directly with industry to see the effectiveness of the instruction that they're providing in the classes that comprise the degree. In the bill, it says that in developing the student success measures, the department shall collaborate with the Commission, Institutions of Higher Education, the Colorado Workforce Development Council, the Department of Labor and Employment, the Department of Education, the Office of Economic Development and International Trade. It does not say, and we will talk with Charles Schwab and Lockheed Martin and all the people who hire these students, and to get the feedback from the receivers, the consumers of the product, which is private industry, the free enterprise world that makes the world go round. So I will be, I'll be supportive of the bill, but I also will be, from my position on the Education Committee and the relationships that I've developed and maintained with the higher ed, pressing for those folks to interact frequently, often, deeply, and meaningfully with private industry to make sure that what they are teaching is relevant in private industry, that private industry is appreciating what they are teaching and the feedback. So it always does my heart great good when I see a company put its presence on campus to try to help affect that. But we cannot have our institutions of education to be too circular. They've got to live as part of the larger community, and this bill does not come right out and say that. So I'm a little disappointed in that wording, that it says, hey, we're going to interact with other government agencies rather than we're going to interact directly with private industry. So I appreciate what y'all are trying to do in the bill, and I will be a yes vote, and I'm going to follow up to make sure it's effective. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I agree with everything my colleague has said on this bill, because that it was a great testimony for the need for the bill, and I agree, hold these institutions accountable for what they're doing and what they're teaching our students, and it is about the workforce, and the private industry needs to be involved with this. There's no reason to educate our kids if they're not employable when they get out. So the dashboard that's created in this, I think, Representative Baisley, you made a great comment about our bill, because what you said is what the bill's all about. If there's more engagement from private industry and the workforce and the needs there, that was our intent with the bill, and I hope that's how this bill, when implemented, will take form. So thank you.
Representative McCluskey. Representative Titone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, we talked about this bill in Joint Technology Committee, as Representative Baisley said. We have a statutory requirement to talk about these bills when they're brought up. So we had a good discussion about it. We had one of the sponsors in the Senate talk about the bill, Senator Bridges, and he explained a lot of the things that were already discussed. And while at the time Representative Baisley did not have a positive view about it, we couldn't agree on as a committee to support the bill, and we didn't have time to write a letter of supporting the bill or saying what our opinion about the bill is. But we are here today. I'm the chair of the Technology Committee, to say that we are in support of this. We think that there is a return on investment in this kind of program, doing this technology upgrade. There's going to be better outcomes for students and the higher education and the businesses. So it's a win-win-win. It's a good investment in Colorado, so I ask you to support the bill.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is an honor to serve with you.
It is such an honor to serve with you, Representative McCluskey.
Members, I just want to highlight that a year ago we came forward with House Bill 1330. And that bill, in addition to doing a number of things to strengthen student success and revitalize our workforce, included a task force, a charge to a task force to really identify how we could improve the workforce talent pipeline. I'm really pleased that 3 pieces of legislation are moving forward from that work. This happens to be one of them. And while I lift up the many members that sat on that 1330 task force, higher education partners, industry leaders, labor partners, it was a great collaboration across many sectors. I think it's important to note that data-driven decision-making is critical in all aspects of the work we do here. And I think what this task force said out loud and reaffirmed something we already knew: we needed a better data system to identify what happens between K-12, higher education, and then career. So I'm very excited to see this bill move forward and strongly encourage an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1349? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1349. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1349 is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title of House Bill 1289.
House Bill 1289 by Representatives Gonzalez, Gutierrez, and McCluskey, also Senator Moreno, concerning improving access to health benefits for economically insecure Colorado families by enhancing public health programs.
Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1289, the Appropriations Committee report, and the Public and Behavioral Health and Human Services Committee report.
To the Appropriations report, Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did bring one amendment that included 3 specific core components to our bill in appropriations because they all impacted the fiscal note. One was to make sure that we aligned 1289 with how Medicaid provides for over expenditures, so it is similar in allowing for that flexibility given the timeline that it takes for these claims to be processed. We also extended the implementation date, pushed the implementation date out to give our friends in HCPF additional time to design the program, and then finally we aligned it with a cash-based accounting system for our controller. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on the Appropriations report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Appropriations report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Appropriations report is passed. To the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report, Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, in the Public and Behavioral Health Committee, we did also have a few amendments that we had in collaboration of working with our stakeholders, including HCPF. And so we made some technical changes and clarifications to the bill, clarifying special enrollment periods for pregnancy, also clarifying the intent of drawing down additional federal funds through a Medicaid waiver, and also clarifying that the Medicaid and CHIP 12-month postpartum coverage will continue only so long as the state is still providing that coverage for folks. We also did an amendment that clarifies that individuals are not required to enroll in WIC in order to receive breast pumps, and that those must be available prenatally. I ask for your support on the committee report.
Is there any further discussion on the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Public and Behavioral Health Committee report. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Public and Behavioral Health Committee report is adopted. To the bill, Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, House Bill 1289 is about strong families and strong communities. We know how important health care coverage is. And in my part of the world, House District 61, it is particularly hard to secure affordable, accessible, high-quality health care. This particular bill helps to expand coverage for new families, provides perinatal care, and support, as well as expanding enrollment. I encourage an aye vote.
Wait. Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have an amendment. I move Amendment L6 and ask that it be displayed.
All right, Amendment L006 has been properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment ensures that we have accountability in this bill. We will provide reports through our SMART hearing to the committees of reference as well as to the Joint Budget Committee. We've also made a commitment to continue extensive stakeholder outreach, and L006 provides for that and calls it out in the bill. I encourage an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L006? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L006. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L006 is passed. To the bill, Representative Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members. As you heard my lovely co-prime sponsor, an amazing co-prime sponsor, talk about is that this is, to make sure that we're providing access to all Coloradans to health care. And I think it's especially in particular to our children and pregnant folks. So I ask for your support.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1289? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1289. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1289 is adopted or passed. Mr. Shebold, please read the title of House Bill 1137.
House Bill 1137 by Representatives Ricks and Bradfield, also Senators Gonzalez and Coleman, concerning practices of unit owners associations and in connection therewith authorizing the enforcement of certain matters regarding unit owners associations in small claims court and limiting the conduct of unit owners associations in collecting unpaid assessments, fees, and fines.
Representative, who would like to begin? Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say before we get started on this bill that House Bill 1137 has been a long time in working and getting to this point. It's for you today.
And Representative Bradfield, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we just want to make sure we don't forget to move the bill and your Transportation and Local Government Committee report.
Thank you. I just wanted to do a little introduction to you.
Okay. Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I first want to move some amendments. I have a couple amendments.
Nope, first move your bill and then you move your committee report.
Okay, I move House Bill 1137 and the committee report.
All right, to the Transportation and Local Government Committee report.
We have two amendments to that report.
Do you have your amendments?
Mm-hmm. Yes. I move I move L006 to the committee report. And I ask that it be displayed. Is she there?
Okay, Amendment L006 has been properly displayed. Who would like to tell us about the amendment? Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in this L006, what we're doing there is to indicate that the association can send correspondence in notices in English unless the unit owner asks for it to be a preference in another language. And it also allows a designated contact. And if there is a designated contact, that same notice needs to be sent to both the designated contact and the unit owner at the same time. In addition to that, we are adding in Section 5 that a notice, once it's received from the unit owner to the HOA that a violation has been cured, the association it can deem it cured or can go out and inspect 30 days after the first expiration of the cure period. And they will have 7 days to do that. After that inspection, if there isn't any issues, then the citation is deemed cured. If there is, there will be another 30-day period, and after that, if it's still not cured, then the association is able to take legal action against the unit owner. We're also striking and adding that on a monthly basis, by first-class mail and by email, they can send notices to the homeowner of any assessments that are due payable to the HOA. And then in page 4, we added that the association can send the itemized list in English or any language that the unit owner has designated.
All right, is there any further discussion on Amendment L006? Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for this amendment. I think it touches actually on one of the main issues that I had with the bill, or that came up during committee, which I believe page 3 of the strike below, lines 28 and onward, which I think this is actually getting to, or it puts in language right after that. And my apologies, I have not seen the amendment prior to this. So help me here understand this, because right now the bill says that if a unit owner cures a violation within the period of the cure afforded to the unit owner may notify the association of the cure, and then it continues on and on. But how is the association, it doesn't say they shall notify. Again, this kind of touches on an even broader point, which is this bill is frankly using the force of state government to micromanage a locally and separate elected board of volunteers working under private contract law with one another to the nth degree. It micromanages it to kind of an insane level. We can't do that with RTD. We can't do that with, or we shouldn't be doing that with HOAs and things like that because they are locally elected and separate from state government. But setting that aside for a moment, back to the question at hand here, which is how is an association supposed to know that a violation has been cured if it's not being required? And would it make sense to change that may to a shall so that the association may be notified that the problem at hand, whatever that may be, has already been cured and it's no longer an issue?
Is there any further discussion? Representative Ricks.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. And so in the committee, this was discussed, and what we added in here is that the association will inspect the property after the first 30 days cure period. That will allow them to ascertain whether or not the issue was resolved. And if it is resolved, then they can move forward. The unit owner can also send a picture to show that something has been resolved. So they do have 7 days to inspect after the first 30-day period to ensure that there has been a cure.
Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that answer. That's actually very helpful. So if I understand it correctly, it's putting the onus on all the shalls are going to be on the HOA association, and I guess that the second question, the follow-up would be, if the unit owner, they fixed whatever the issue is, they take a picture of it, they send it in, is the inspection still required? Is the inspection still required in 7 days if they get that picture and things like that?
Representative Ricks.
No, it would not, because at that point they're showing proof that they have resolved the issue.
Is there any further discussion on L006? Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I do think this does help a bit to bring clarity to one of the problems that came up in committee. However, it still is putting more requirements and more mandates on the homeowners association, which again will lead to higher HOA dues to about 2.7 million Coloradans at a time when they can't afford it.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L006? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L006. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L006 is passed. To the committee report. And just by way of reference, we are on the Transportation and Local Government Committee report. Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have amendment I move L007 to the committee report. And ask that it be displayed.
L007 has been properly displayed. To the amendment, Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In this amendment, what we're doing is we are requiring that certified mail be sent out and with just return receipt requested, and that a physical copy of the notice be posted on the unit's door. In addition to that, on page 2, we're adding public safety and health. If there's an issue around public safety or health, then the association does not have to wait 30 days. They can ask for a cure within 72 hours from the unit owner. We're also striking the same information regarding certified mail and return receipt. And then we're in Section 5, we're asking that we take out matters of small claims court. In the original strike below, it said that the homeowner association needed to explain to a homeowner their rights in small claims court. And we've changed that language now to just say that they have the right to go to small claims court. And so I ask for adoption of L007.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L007? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L007. All those in favor say aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. L007 is passed. To the Transportation and Local Government Report.
So,
Representative Ricks.
oh, thank you.
No, go.
Okay. So basically, this bill came about in last summer when two different homeowners, senior citizens in our community, were foreclosed on by HOAs because they had not paid some fines and fees that were assessed against their properties. We worked painstakingly with people in Colorado Springs and in the Denver metro area around this issue. And we know that HOAs are very unregulated here in Colorado. They have unchecked powers. They have broad powers to bring foreclosure against homeowners, regardless for fees, fines, attorney's fees, for whatever fees that are owed to them, they can pull you into foreclosure. And that has been going on for a while. We know that HOAs are very tough. These bills, Representative Titone has brought bills like this, and it's been very challenging to get them through. But then during this crisis, we see that in Green Valley Ranch, there's 50 different homes that are being foreclosed on. Basically, this is the 2022 version of redlining that is going on right here under our noses, and we need to ensure that people who have worked for their homes, who are working families here, you know, trying to achieve their American dream does not turn into a nightmare right in front of our faces. And we as lawmakers do nothing to stop this. So we need to check the powers of HOA and ensure that there is due process, that there is consumer protection for a homeowner after they have paid their mortgage for so long. We also want to ensure that there's transparency, there's accountability when it comes to HOA. After all, these HOAs are managed, they should be there to serve and to help the homeowners. It's not an adversarial role where they just get to hammer against homeowners just because of fees and fines. Imagine getting your home foreclosed because you have a grease stain on your driveway, or because you didn't paint your fence, or maybe because you didn't cut your grass. 15 years, 17 years were the stories that we heard of homeowners who were getting foreclosed on. Some of them did not even get a notice that they were going to be foreclosed on. So we think this is unconscionable, that we need to ensure that consumers do get protection here in Colorado, and we are asking for your support on this bill. It's a very important piece of legislation that seems to balance, at least give due process and accountability and transparency for HOAs.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill has lots of parts to it, and each one of those parts had extensive meeting with stakeholders, whether it be the homeowners associations or the management companies for these, and a lot of back and forth has gone on, hence the number of amendments, just trying to get this to be equitable, reasonable, fair. All those words mean about the same thing. So may not be the perfect bill, but it has come a long way in trying to strike a fair balance for HOAs and homeowners. The things that we would like to really focus on is that you're not going to get a foreclosure on your home if you owe something a fine for that grease spot on the driveway. or the uncut grass. That is not something that you would lose your home over. That also that the HOA has a responsibility to communicate with you, and there are multiple ways that are acceptable. Of course, the homeowner has to be receptive. That is obvious there. That many of the issues involving money do not start at a foreclosure court. They can start with a small claims court, which has a dollar cap of $7,500. So again, here is an opportunity not to lose a home, but to get settlement in a shorter way, smaller amount of money. I urge a yes vote.
Is there any further discussion on House Bill 1137? Representative Larson. And to be clear, we are still on the Transportation and Local Government Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to the sponsors for bringing this. I was in the Transportation Committee when this happened, and forgive me if I'm making reference. I know this bill has changed radically, probably since I've seen it, and indeed in the last couple of minutes. So I'm making reference to improper sections here, but on page 3, lines 20 through 21, the section that dealt with the $500 cap for a fine, that this is changing, and forgive me if that portion is no longer in the bill. I believe it still is. There was some questions in committee and some concern is that now this prevents an HOA from levying any more than a $500 fine for a violation of certain covenants. And indeed, I think some of these issues that were cited, like an unmowed lawn, that may seem appropriate. However, there are certain things like, there are covenants restrictions on building an additional structure onto your home, building a detached garage. These are pretty major violations of an agreed-on legal covenant. And the way that I'm reading this bill is that if I'm a homeowner, I would be able to go and build a detached garage on my property in direct violation of the HOA agreement. And the only recourse that the HOA would have is to levy a $500 fine against me. If you could explain how is an HOA going to be able to hold the homeowner accountable for, complying with the legally agreed to covenants beyond a $500 fine, because frankly, when you're dealing with building a contiguous structure, a $500 fine is not going to be a huge disincentive. So is there a remedy for the HOA?
Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Rep. Larson, for that question. Yeah, we've heard a lot about the homeowner who chooses to paint their property pink, or maybe they want to build a tree house in the backyard. The truth is that is a very rare occurrence, and because of that, we know that the homeowners still have recourse to take that particular homeowner to court, ask for what they call injunctive relief, which means that the court is going to tell them that they need to change or to stop building that structure or to repaint their home. If they choose not to do that, they would now be found in contempt of court and possibly go to jail. I don't think that any homeowner really wants to do that just to be belligerent. So if that, on that rare occasion, then the HOAs can still take them to court. In fact, HOAs are very adept at taking people to court. They're foreclosing on people's properties. So that is something that is still within their wheelhouse. They still have that tool and that ability to get what we call injunctive relief or other legal actions that can be taken.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Larson.
Thank you for that clarification. So the way that I'm understanding it, essentially the remedy is to go to the courts. But there's no other additional remedy in here. So now we've created a situation where, a homeowner can essentially roll the dice as to whether the HOA is going to take them to court, but the remedy is to go to court. And obviously presumably that would be at the cost of the homeowner to defend themselves, and then it would be at the cost of the HOA in order to bring that case against that homeowner. All of the attorney's fees and associated costs with the court would be borne by the HOA and therefore the assessed members of the HOA. So there's nothing preventing them from passing on the costs of the litigation to the HOA members in increased assessments?
Representative Rex.
No, there's nothing that prevents them from passing those fees on to that particular homeowner, and that's what they do now in foreclosure. All the fees relative to that person's house are passed on to the homeowner. So it will not be a burden against all HOA unit owners, just that homeowner. And that's their right to do that.
Representative Tatone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, HOAs have an enormous amount of power, and I appreciate what you said, that court is the only option. And you know what? I had a bill that was killed in committee recently, and it was to manage to license the management companies. You know what the management company said? Well, if you have a problem with us, you can go to court. What person has enough money to go to court every single time there's a problem? That's the only remedy anybody in an HOA has, is to go to court for everything. Now, for example, if HOA board doesn't like you, they don't like the color of your skin maybe, they don't like that you have a flag outside they don't like, but we allow them to do that, they can find any little tiny reason to fine you. If your garbage can is 2 inches over the line of the sidewalk, they can fine you. If they don't like you, they can find ways to fine you by breaking the rules, even as small as it is. So then they fine you. And you're like, 2 inches over the line, you're going to fine me for that? I'm not paying that. Well, then they put a late fee on you. Then the late fee gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You get to a point where they put a lien on your house. And you're like, this is ridiculous. This is for 2 inches over the line of the sidewalk. Well, the lien goes past that and goes to foreclosure. Now they're foreclosing on your house, and they have the right to do that. They go around the process of foreclosure that the lender doesn't even have a problem with this person. It's the HOA. And the HOA is like, hey, you didn't pay our fine, and we're going to foreclose on your house, and all that equity is going to go away because we're going to sell this at a super low rate, and you're not going to get anything for it. That's what we're dealing with here. That's the kind of stuff, that's the kind of power, and unchecked power, that has to go to court. And who has the money to go to court to do that? This is trying to circumvent the egregious things that HOA boards do, and the power that they have, and the power they know they have. Because nobody wants to go to court, because nobody can afford to go to court. And you know what? If the homeowner loses, they have to pay the HOA legal fees. So they go to court with that risk. And then, the attorneys that work for the HOAs, they know how to fight those cases, and they know how to win. You know what? They win probably 90% of the time. So you're a homeowner, you have a problem, you go to court, well, your garbage can was over the line, there's a picture of it. Sorry, case dismissed. And now everybody, gets their house foreclosed and they're out of their home. That's what we're dealing with here. So just want you to think about that.
Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And it can't be forgotten here that we're talking about a separately, locally elected board that is operating under private contract law. But before we get into the court situation, the bill actually lays out a process that says the HOA may not take legal action or refer anything for legal action until, and this is how it came out of committee, that certified mail has been received and confirmation has been received back to the board. So I guess the question is, what happens if a homeowner just refuses to sign the confirmation of the certified mail? Because the way the bill is written right now, it says that the HOA cannot take any action against a homeowner until they get that signed piece of paper back. So if they don't get the signed piece of paper back, what happens?
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, esteemed colleagues. This is an interesting debate and discussion as I sit back being a rural legislator. It almost feels like a David and Goliath story with the homeowners and the HOA. But I want to talk a little bit about the rural-urban divide. Representative Gray, he's got to park this one down. We're not at 100 yet, but I don't even think we're at 50 this session. But what is very interesting to me, as I sit here as a rural legislator, this strikingly reminds me of how my counties in my district in my little towns and municipalities feel when the state promulgates rules and takes statute and does policy and rules that cause my little communities to struggle, to suffer, to squirm, to wonder how they're going to handle that.
And Representative Holtorf will just make sure this ties directly to the bill.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I really don't know how to do that, ma'am. I'm going to have to yield the dais to those that know about HOAs, because we really don't have them in House District 64. And I believe most of my constituents do not want them based on this debate. Thank you.
All right. Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I suppose back to the question I just previously asked, and we do have them in districts like mine, Representative Holtorf, and I do believe this will raise the cost of living for actually every single person in my district who owns a home. But back to the question that I asked previously, which is, the bill as written right now says that a HOA cannot take action against a homeowner until they get that signed piece of paper back that says they received a certified piece of mail. Help me understand what happens if they don't get that piece of paper back or the homeowner refuses to sign it. Because if I was a homeowner, I would just not sign that piece of paper, and the law says that they cannot take action against me until I have signed that piece of paper. So help me understand what happens in that situation. Or maybe I'm correct, and that is the way it's intended to be written.
Is there any further discussion on the Transportation and Local Government Committee report? Representative
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Van Winkle, and then, okay, Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I think we're touching on here just one little piece of the bill, but it speaks to the overall issues that the bill has that has been amended so many times, and it's still not quite there. There's still dozens of things within this bill, like this little situation, which is, and it appears to be purposely written this way, where if a homeowner does not sign that piece of paper and send it back and it gets sent back to the HOA, that the HOA can do nothing. They cannot, quote, refer anything to an attorney for action, and they cannot do anything. So an HOA is just sitting there saying, well, we didn't get the piece of paper back because the homeowner who is already not cooperating with us. And may I remind you once again, the reason I'm speaking on the committee report is because the committee report is essentially literally the entire bill at this point. So that's why I'm speaking in the committee report. The bill has been edited and modified so many times. It's hard to keep track of exactly what's happening. In fact, the bill before us here has never even faced witness testimony. The witness testimony was previously on a previous version of the bill prior to the big strike below that has then been amended several times here today. The net result, I believe, is a bill that needs more time, it needs more attention, it needs little things like this piece ironed out, perhaps in a committee. And my big fear is that the net result will be a higher cost of living for about 2.7 million Coloradans.
Representative Bacon.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly add, I do know that this bill was debated in committee, and a lot of the questions that we're hearing here were also heard there. We use certified mail in a ton of facets in law, and there's something to be said about when someone refuses to receive the mail, and that there's remedies for that. So that's not any different in this case from any other place in law for an answer to that question. But if we're going to talk about cost of living that is being made higher for residents, I just wanted to take a moment to reiterate what my colleagues have said and advocated for, that this is already happening now. We have said as a legislature that we believe in home ownership and that it provides opportunities for people. And the truth of the matter is an HOA has more authority over someone's equity in their home than even a mortgage lender right now. And so there are people in my actual neighborhood, in my actual district, that this is happening to at present. In the days in which values of homes are rising, people, Black and brown people, are losing their homes over a range of $7,000 to $20,000 when they have upwards of $100,000 worth of equity in their house. Mortgage lenders don't get access to that. Other creditors don't get access to that. So there's fundamentally something wrong with that process, let alone the harm that is impacting people. So if we want to speculate on 2.7 million people when what we're saying is turn HOAs into creditors for fines and fees versus putting people out of their homes for grass, and we're actually up here arguing that, then we don't have the wherewithal to say we believe in home ownership, we want to address the rising price of housing at all. And so we have an opportunity to do this. And to those of anybody who will see this, who live in 80249, we want to let you know this legislature knows what's happening to you, and that equity that you have built through the hard work of owning a home deserves to be yours. You can be held responsible for what it is that you agreed to, but not at the cost of putting families out of homes. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on the Transportation and Local Government Committee report? Representative Van Winkle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would appreciate it if I could come up here and talk on the topics of a bill, which I've been very careful to talk only to the specifics of the bill without my motivations being attacked. I do believe this will raise the cost of living for 2.7 million Coloradans, including every single homeowner in my district, which is elects a person to the board for their neighborhood to go to the overall Highlands Ranch Community Association Board to govern. It will raise our cost of living, and I don't need my motivations attacked.
Is there any further discussion on the Transportation and Local Government Committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation and Local Government Committee report. And members, to be clear, because there was a strike below amendment in committee, passage of the committee report is passage of the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes. Oh. The committee will stand in a brief recess. Oh, there we go. Got to get the microphone. The committee will come back to order. So, members, just so that we're all on the same page, the Transportation and Local Government, when this bill was heard, the committee report is the strike through, or strike below. There was a strike below amendment. So the committee report, now as amended, is passage of the bill. Is there any further discussion on this committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation and Local Government. Whoop. Okay, we'll go into one more brief recess. Okay, so all those in favor, one last time, the question before us is the adoption of the Transportation and Local Government Committee report as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Transportation and Local Government Committee report as amended is adopted. To the bill, is there any further discussion on House Bill 1137? Representative Basenecker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
It is an honor to serve with you, Representative Basenecker.
I have the privilege of sitting on the Transportation and Local Government Committee, and we heard this bill first a month ago, where we laid it over for action only a few weeks ago then, when we heard the bill again. And I think it merits mentioning that our sponsors have done an immense amount of stakeholding work, both before introducing the bill, when the bill was heard originally in committee, and in that month since. I think that's important to note because any bill that is this complex and touches on this many issues necessarily involves a lot of intentional conversations, a lot of conversations that are designed to mitigate unintended consequences, and I think most importantly, to address what continues to be an ongoing concern, if not crisis, for folks in our state as they continue to lose their homes due to the actions of HOAs. I think it's incumbent upon us as a body to make sure that we solve this problem, and that when we adjourn, we're able to say to homeowners across our state, there are a lot of barriers to home ownership. We recognize that. There is a lack of affordable and attainable housing. We're working on that. We think we have plans in place. But this piece will help keep you whole in your home, and you won't be faced with egregious and ongoing and accumulating and rolling debt as a result of the actions of an HOA or a misunderstanding or even a simple violation that should go no further. So I want to say thank you to the bill sponsors for their work on bringing these amendments, for hearing our concerns in committee, for engaging deeply with the folks who have issues with this bill on both sides, and I think a vested interest in seeing this policy come together well. So I am proud to support this bill. I am glad that it is a bipartisan effort, because there is nothing partisan about making sure that folks can stay in their homes and they don't lose them for something as simple as being 2 inches over the line, as my colleague Representative Tatone mentioned. So thank you for your work on this bill. I would hope you would join me in supporting it.
Representative Bradfield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We've had a lot of discussion here on this bill, and I want to tell you there was a lot of discussion that went on before this. But let me tell you that this bill, had we had every HOA in the state of Colorado behaving in a dignified and legalistic and thoughtful manner, Representative Ricks and I would not be standing up here with a bill that is really to put some skids on HOAs that are power hungry. And that's all. If your HOA is acting in a responsible manner and you are completely delighted with your covenant and everything that they are doing, then this isn't applying to you. We've heard this before. So that's my lecture to the House. Thank you.
Representative Ricks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, you know, I just want to say, members, that this is one of the most important bills you will hear this year. This bill is going to protect homeowners who live in homeowner common interest communities, HOAs, which is 2.6 million people here in Colorado. It protects them and gives them accountability and transparency in notices from the HOAs. It also will stop an HOA from foreclosing on fines and fees that are owed for covenant violations. This is very important because it's a big step. So far, the HOAs have had just these broad powers and can foreclose for any reason regarding fees. So this is going to make sure that they are accountable. We're asking for the small claims court to get involved and giving them powers to do injunctive relief. So this is very, very important. We ask for your support as you vote on it. As a mortgage broker, I've fought many times to help people get into home ownership and to see them lose their homes because they can't understand the letters that are coming to them or not getting any notice at all. It's just wrong. And we cannot live with this. We have to ensure that homeowners are protected with the biggest asset that they have. I ask you in joining me to vote for HB 1137. Thank you.
Okay, members, so we were in and out of recess, and just to be clear, the committee will come back to order. And now, the question before us is the adoption of House Bill 1137 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1137 is passed. Mr. Shebo, please read the title to Senate Bill 167.
Senate Bill 167 by Senator Janal, also Representative Duran, concerning removing the exemption for Greyhound breeders from the Pet Animal Care and Facilities Act.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move House Bill 167, or Senate Bill 167.
Okay, the bill has been moved to the bill. Representative Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Pet Animal Care Facility Act, PACFA, licenses and regulates dog breeders to protect the health and well-being of pets across the state of Colorado. However, there is an exemption in PACFA for any kennel operated for the breeding or sale or racing of racing greyhounds that are not intended to be companion pets. This exemption was included in PACFA because the regulation of greyhound breeding is managed by the Colorado Racing Commission. However, the regulation of greyhound breeders belongs in PACFA, where breeders will be monitored like every other dog breeder and accountable to Colorado's comprehensive animal welfare standards. So Senate Bill 167 will repeal the exemption in PACFA for greyhound breeders and require that they be held to the same ethical welfare standards as all other breeders in the state. And I ask for a yes vote on Senate Bill 167.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 167? Seeing, Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to come down and support my colleague on this bill to let everyone know that greyhounds are fantastic animals. They make great pets. The breeders that are breeding greyhounds in our state will be able to continue breeding. They will be under just a more appropriate regulation or observation with PACFA, the Pet Animal Care Facilities Act, which is exactly where they should be. This is where all other breeders in the state are under, and we can be super proud that we have such a division in our Department of Ag, the Pet Animal Care Facilities Act. And so I too just wanted to come down and urge an aye vote on this and encourage everyone to look at greyhounds as a great pet for your next adoptable pet.
Representative Holtorf.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Esteemed colleagues, many of you know in rural Colorado, in order for us to survive in the country, we have to do more than one thing as a business enterprise. One of the things we do in the country is raise pets, but in this case, where I come from, they're called working dogs. And they have a very valuable purpose, particularly on cattle ranches. And the greyhound also has a very valuable purpose. And I spoke to this in committee, and I want the whole chamber to hear this. Those greyhounds are used for coyote eradication. You see, it's calving season in the country, and those coyotes are out there, and they do take baby calves. They kill them, and they eat them. But the greyhound has a very unique capability. You see, it can outrun just about anything. And it can run down a coyote or a pack of coyotes. And when they do that, they take care of business, as we say in the country. And that's good business for a cattleman, because we don't want predators killing our little babies, the things that we care for, the things that we want to protect, just like your children in the concrete jungle. Those calves are our babies, and we want to protect them. But I will tell you, nobody stands up more for small business and for animal breeders and for the proliferation of this type of a small business than many of the members on the Ag Committee from the country, because we know the importance of raising those animals, and we know the value that it serves in our rural communities. I will tell you that this particular bill, and it's not very often that Representative Duran and I will see eye to eye on things, but I will tell you, this is one of those exceptions. I stand up for small business. I stand up for pet stores. I stand up for the breeders, because in agriculture, that's what we do with livestock, horses, okay, trying to improve the genetic profile of those animals so they can be better, faster, stronger. But I will tell you, this is one area where PACFA does have, I believe, the proper oversight as this industry has changed in Colorado and really across the United States. And that was brought up in testimony. So I just, for the record, want everybody in this chamber to know that I stand with the bill sponsor in support of this legislation.
Is there any further discussion? Representative Will.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's still an honor to serve with you.
And Representative Will, it is still an honor to serve with you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to come up and talk about 167. We heard it in committee, in Ag, Livestock, and Water Committee, and I don't know if I was the only no vote, but one of the few no votes on this bill in committee. And my concerns, Representative Holtorf, my colleague, just talked about some of it, but I just don't want in any way this bill to interfere with sport hunting, dog sport hunting with greyhounds. I have to tell you, I grew up doing that. One of my dad's best friends did a lot of greyhound hunting. And my old football coach, we went out a lot and did this for depredation of coyotes for livestock owners. And so that was my huge concern in here. I think I understand that the Gaming Commission, and there's no longer legally greyhound racing in Colorado. But my no vote in committee was that I was very concerned. I don't want this to affect greyhound breeders and the use of greyhound in sport hunting, the use of dogs in sport hunting, and particularly greyhounds in sport hunting. So I would like to hear from the bill sponsor or thoughts on whether this would have any effect on that or not.
Representative Duran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yes, this bill did come out of committee with bipartisan support. And to answer Representative Will, this does not affect sport hunting of greyhounds. I mean, they're going to fall under PACFA like all other breeders, and we'll have to follow those regulations, but this does not interfere with your ability to be able to use greyhounds on your ranch like you do at all. The only thing this does is it puts greyhound breeders in the same group as all other animal breeders to follow the PACFA regulations and not with the Racing Commission. That's it.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 167? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 167. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 167 is passed. Mr. Shebold, please read the title of Senate Bill 058.
Senate Bill 58 by Senator Simpson, also Representative McCormick, concerning the creation of a peer health assistance program for dental hygienists.
Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move Senate Bill 22058.
Senate Bill 58 has been moved. Representative McCormick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill will create the Peer Health Assistance Program for dental hygienists. And as many of you know, peer health assistance programs are present for many professions. These programs are supported by fees collected upon payment of the licensing or renewal of a license for these professionals. The programs are here to help address physical, emotional, or psychological problems that may be detrimental to a person's ability to practice their profession. The programs also help educate professionals to know how to recognize and prevent physical, emotional, and psychological problems, and to provide intervention when needed. The bill will add the profession of the dental hygienist to have access to this peer assistance program. The dentists already have this program, and it is time to add the dental hygienist access. We did the very same thing for veterinary technicians this year in the renewal of the Veterinary Practice Act, and it's a really good program. It provides counseling and support for both the hygienist and for the family of the dental hygienist that has been referred for treatment. The DORA board overseeing the hygienist will be able to refer hygienists for treatment in lieu of disciplinary action when indicated. Hygienists will also be able to self-refer to the peer assistance program. And in the bill, it also allows or directs a hygienist to self-refer to the peer health assistance program within 30 days after an arrest for a drug or alcohol-related offense. These are really great programs. We heard great testimony from both dentists and dental hygienists in committee. And I recommend and I vote on Senate Bill 58.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 58? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 58. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 58 is passed. Mr. Shebold, please read the title of Senate Bill 164.
Senate Bill 164 by Senators Enzinger and Woodward, also Representatives Woodrow and Lynch, concerning the substitution of the word treasurers in place of the word assessors in a statutory provision requiring disclosure of property tax information for purchasers of newly constructed residences within the boundaries of a metropolitan district.
Representative Lynch.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it is an honor to serve with you.
Representative Lynch, it is an honor to serve with you.
So we may have thought we've heard the most impactful bills of this session, but I will let you know this potentially is really the most impactful. What this bill does is this corrects some statute that we passed previously and replaces the word treasurer instead of assessor, because when it comes to giving tax bills, assessors actually can't do that. That must come from the treasurer. This corrects that statute, and this is going to make a huge difference for the future of Colorado.
And Representative Lynch, would you like to move the bill?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I would like to move House Bill 22, or I'm sorry, Senate Bill 22-164.
That bill has now been properly moved. Representative Woodrow, would you like to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank my co-prime sponsor on this. Colleagues, this is continued work, good work on behalf of the Statutory Revision Committee. Good bill, vote yes.
Is there any further discussion on Senate Bill 164? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 164. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. No. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 164 is passed. Assistant Majority Leader Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
Members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report.
House will come back to order. Mr. Shebel, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole begs leave to report it has under consideration the following attached bills, being the second reading thereof and making the following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1137 as amended 1289, as amended 1318, 1349, as amended, passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 58, 164, 167, passed on second reading and ordered revised and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage.
Representative Byrd. Members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. The question before us is the adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. For those participating online, Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative A. Valdez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative A. Valdez votes yes. This is my favorite time of the Please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 1 excuse, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over House Bill 1285 that's on the second reading calendar until tomorrow, April 21st.
See no objection. House Bill 1285 will be laid over to the General Orders second reading calendar tomorrow, Thursday, April 21st. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for consideration of conference committee reports.
Mr. Shebel, please read the title of House Bill 1340.
House Bill 1340 by Representatives Harridan McCluskey, also Senators Hansen and Zenzinger, concerning capital-related transfers of money.
Representative McCluskey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of the first report of the first conference committee on House Bill 1340. Members, we recognize that in our capital transfer bill, which we do every year with the long bill, we were swapping out federal funds with general funds because we put our institutions of higher education out of enterprise status. What we realized is that because of a capital IT project that was also coming through, we had that same risk. So we will see funding come back to the general fund and more federal funds used for that IT capital project. I urge an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion? The question before us is the adoption of the Conference Committee report on House Bill 1340. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Hanks votes yes. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative A. Valdez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative A. Valdez votes yes. Please close the machine. With 52 aye votes, 12 no votes, and 1 excused, the first conference committee for House Bill 1340 is adopted. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the repassage of House Bill 1340 as amended by the conference committee report.
The question before us is the repassage of House Bill 1340 as amended by the Conference Committee report. See no further discussion. Mr. Shebel, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Pico, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Pico votes no. Representative Hanks, how do you vote?
No.
Representative Hanks votes no. Representative Woodrow, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Woodrow votes yes. Representative Cutter, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative Cutter votes yes. Representative A. Valdez, how do you vote?
Yes.
Representative A. Valdez votes yes. please close the machine. With 41 aye votes, 23 no votes, and 1 excused, House Bill 1340 is repassed as amended. Co-sponsors. Representative A. Valdez, Representative Woodrow, co-sponsor. Please close the machine. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar until tomorrow, Thursday, April 21st.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over until Thursday, April 21st. That brings us to announcements and introductions. I have one. Representative Woodrow will replace Representative A. Valdez on Energy and Environment Committee for today only. Further announcements and introductions. Representative Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Business Affairs and Labor Committee, we are meeting right upon adjournment. We'll call it 11:15. We have one bill, one resolution, House Concurrent Resolution 1006. We'll see you at 11:15 downstairs.
Representative Putin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Energy and Environment Committee, we are meeting at 11:15, so please hustle on over to LSBA as soon as we adjourn. Thank you.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the Appropriations Committee and members with bills in the Appropriations Committee, we will meet tomorrow at 8 a.m., not 8:30, 8 a.m. Be there with your jokes or your bills will lay over on the calendar until June. So, see you there.
Further announcements and introductions. Seeing none. Majority Leader Escar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House stand in recess until later today.
Seeing no objection, the House will stand in recess till later today.